What up, y'all? Jake the Asshole here, and of course, Rusty too. People have been asking, where's Rusty? Well, he's right here. Say
What
hi,
up, y'all?
Rusty.
Jake the Asshole here, and of course, Rusty too.
All right, sounds good on my end. Just wait for a few people to start jumping on board. What's up, Max Prime? What's up, Flat Man? All right, so I just moved into a new studio, so I'm still getting the place set up for myself. It's a giant studio apartment, and I kind of need to just set everything up. And so that's why I've been offline for a while, had to handle some shit, and I didn't really have a whole lot that I knew to talk about. But today, oh shit, looks like I got my moderators in the house. Emma says, Rusty. Yep, he's here. Thomas Scott says, yo, yo, yo. What up, Thomas Scott? News. All right. So today, I thought we would go old school and pick on NASA a little bit and talk about moon gravity versus Earth gravity, whether or not there really even is gravity. And we'll look at some old footage from NASA and we'll compare it to what goes on here on Earth. And we'll compare and contrast the moon gravity versus Earth gravity. And I even looked it up before the stream started because I didn't know the exact number. But they say that on the moon, it's only 17% as strong as the gravity here on Earth. So basically, if you're on the moon, yeah, it's only 17% the strength of the gravity here on Earth. That's what they said. So I wanted to actually start using my screen share abilities, which I've been practicing today because my little wire that I connect to my TV is broken. So I have to start using the screen share option, which is good and it's bad. It's good because it's better for a visual presentation than my TV screen. But the bad news is I can't react face to face with the screens that I'm showing you. You guys, you know how it works. Anyway, so I'm a newbie with the screen presenting. So if I screw it up a little bit, just bear with me. But anyway, all right, Rusty, I need to bust NASA, so you need to get down for a minute, buddy. Get up, good boy. Okay. So I want to show you guys what is necessary to take off and leave the Earth. Of course, you would need a rocket. So let me screen share here. All right. So here's the rocket ship. All right. Now, as you can see, if you want to leave the Earth, you have to have a stand, a big old stand to hold the rocket.
11 at this time. The vehicle starting to pressurize as far as the propellant tanks are concerned, and all is still go as we monitor
this huge stand, and you have to have this whole facility
2 minutes, 10 seconds and counting.
Dedicated to this launch to leave the Earth.
The target for the Apollo 11 astronauts, the moon at liftoff, will be at a distance of 218,000 feet. We're on internal power with the launch vehicle at this time. 40 seconds away from the Apollo 11.
All right, see, so here's the whole site that they need. They need a big old tower, buildings and stuff all around here, just to make sure that when we launched it, that it actually leaves.
Astronauts report it feels good.
Oh man, I don't know about you guys, but I can feel the suspense building.
20 seconds and counting. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Look at all that
engine running.
fire and
Liftoff.
exhaust.
We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower cleared.
All right. Now, whenever I watch one of these rocket launches, I'm always stunned at how slow they go. They just barely leave the stand with any speed. I feel like these things aren't going as fast as they tell us. They're going a fraction of as fast as they tell us.
Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Now,
Tower cleared.
they say that these things go tens of thousands of miles per hour, but it looks to me like it's going really slow, nowhere near that speed. I'm sure you guys have launched model rockets, and you'll notice a model rocket that you can launch off, like the type, you know, the kids launch, seem to be going way faster than these. And these rockets almost look like they're like blimps, like and the rocket thruster is in fires for show, but it's almost like a glorified blimp, how slow it goes. So you see what you need, though. You need this huge stand and all this stuff if you want to leave, and you need a really powerful rocket, and there's all this fire and exhaust. So that's what you need to leave the Earth. All right, you guys following so far? All right. So let's see. All right, so this is how you leave the moon. If you get to the moon in one of those rockets, then you need to leave the moon, right? So when you get to the moon, you have, of course, your homeless tweaker shelter. I mean, your lunar lander, your lunar module. It detaches from the rocket, and then it lands on the moon, or so they say. And so how do the astronauts get back home? Well,
99, proceeded, 3, 2, 1, ignition. Right away, Houston. Vector good.
that's it.
X side. 1, ignition. Right away, Houston.
See, so it doesn't take much to leave the moon. You guys following? On the Earth, you need a big old stand and a huge rocket ship and a ton of equipment. And when you're on the moon, though, you don't need any of that stuff. The top just pops off of the lunar module, and you don't even need much of a thrust at all. Here, I'll even slow it down.
Ignition. Right away. 1, ignition. Right away, Houston. Vector good.
And if you'll notice, after it takes off, there's no more flame or any remnants or sparks or anything coming out. It just had the one little blast, and then it's gone. It's going to meet back up with the rocket ship up there, which, of course, they don't have footage of that.
Ignition.
So the blast happens down here, right? At the base of the module. There's no blasts coming out of the top, the part that's flying. So there's no rocket thrusting out of the top. All the blast seems to occur down at the base, which is left behind. That doesn't make any sense.
Right away, Houston. Vector good.
All right.
X side.
So you guys following so far? Are you guys following me so far? Let me make sure this whole thing's working. All right. So did you guys see what I showed you there? All right, just making sure that it's working. This is my first time using the presenting slides with you guys watching. So anyway, so you need this huge freaking tower and a big old rocket and a rocket thrusting just constantly, right? And you need that to leave the Earth. But then when you get to the moon, you don't need any of that. Apparently, just the base of the module, and I happen to have it right here on my shirt, right? You just have to have this part shoot off a little explosion, and then the top can just pop off and magically go meet that rocket ship. Can you believe there are people that actually think that's what fucking happened? And they think that I'm weird or you're weird if you don't believe we went to the moon. So you actually have to believe that this little top part here can just pop off and then fly up and then go meet back up with the rocket. I wish we had footage of that where the top part of this meets back up with the rocket. How did this thing steer? Like once it pops off and flies away, like how do they steer it? How do they get it to aim at their shuttle, or how did they get it to connect back to it? We didn't get to see that. Anyway, but we get to see it leave, and it doesn't take much. And the explosion seems to happen at the base, and then the top part flies away. So, of course, the naysayers are going to say, well, you don't need that much thrusting power on the moon because it's only 17% the strength of gravity of Earth. So they can just have a little pew, and it'll make the whole top of the module fly away with just enough force, just perfectly. You don't need a stand. You don't need a big rocket or a thruster, just like some little black cat firecrackers that you find at the state line, you know, fireworks stand. Just need a little bit of those at the base. And then the top part will come off and fly away and leave the moon. Here on Earth, man, we need this huge setup that costs billions of dollars. But on the moon, you can just have the homeless tweaker shelter just be its own stand and setup and stuff, and the top part just pop off because the gravity is so much weaker on the moon, right? Is it really, though? Now let's go look at some astronauts jumping on the moon to compare. All right. I think it's, there it is. All right. So if you just type in astronauts jumping on the moon and you do a search, there's one where a guy's hopping around comes up. Oh God, yes, no, get out of my way. Okay, here we go. So look at these hops. Now, if the gravity on the moon is only 17% the strength of the Earth, shouldn't you be able to jump like way high in the air? Look at these tiny little jumps. These little teeny weeny puny jumps. That just looks like somebody skipping around on the Earth, man. So look at these teeny weeny little jumps. All right. And we'll look at the other one. This one, astronaut jumps up. All right, well, here it comes. Whoa, man, that's so high. Now, come on. Shouldn't he be jumping way higher than that? If it's only 17% the strength of the Earth, the gravity, that means what? You should be jumping 83% higher, right? So you should be jumping way higher than that. I mean, these look like these look like Earth jumps, right? That can't be more than about a foot. He's only jumping maybe a foot off the ground. Granted, he's got a spacesuit on, weighing him down. But still, with this moon gravity being so weak, you should be able to be jumping and getting some serious height. Look at these puny jumps, man. You guys remember that movie, White Men Can't Jump? Well, apparently it's true even on the moon. White men cannot jump even on the moon. Now, what I like about this video, and it's been pointed out many times, is towards the end, you can see the wires visible when these guys go running off the screen. Watch, here they come. Watch the top of the screen. See the wires? Woo! Watch, top of the screen. Keep your eye at the top of the screen. There it was. There it is. Top of the screen, you can see the wire. Yeah. So basically, I'm thinking you should be jumping way, way higher than that. And I know this is just something basic and simple, but so this is basic stuff, and that if my jumps here on Earth, if I can jump a foot here on Earth, man, or 2 feet, 3 feet, let's say in the air, man, on the moon, you should be getting some serious height. And it didn't even look like the guy made it maybe a foot off the ground on the moon. You should be getting some serious height. I mean, NBA players, or anybody with some athletic ability, football players going up to catch a football, NBA players jumping up to dunk the basketball, these guys are getting some serious height. So I know astronauts are not as athletic as these guys, but shouldn't they be getting some serious height off the ground? If the rocket ship, the difference between the Earth rocket ship is a giant stand, a whole location worth billions of dollars, and a giant rocket, versus this fucking thing right here going and just popping off, then that means your jumps should also reflect the same thing. Shouldn't you be able to just jump while you're on the moon and go, whoa, way hella high? Come on. Anyone following me here? Fusion density says you're right. So anyway, that was the point I kind of wanted to make there, was that when you're on the Earth, we need this big giant rocket setup. But then when you're on the moon to leave, you just pop off with, some little teeny weeny firecracker explosions, and it magically just leaves the moon and flies you out into space like just perfectly. But that doesn't seem to reflect at all when the astronauts are jumping around. You know what I mean? Or like when they're on their dune buggy or whatever. To me, if you just hit a tiny little bump in those dune buggies, whoa, you should be catching some serious air. You know what I mean? Like, you should be catching like some air when you're not even really trying to, Emma says, ha, Dennis Rodman. Oh, yeah, and then the weird thing about Dennis Rodman, he's like this guy that goes to meet Kim Jong-un. That's a whole nother story. But in North Korea, they'll allow Dennis Rodman to show up, some American basketball cross-dressing weirdo. They'll allow him to show up and hang out with Kim Jong-un. Yeah, but we're supposed to think that there's some serious threat. Anyway, I don't know why I guess because she said Dennis Rodman, I just got sidetracked. But anyway, looks like my screen's glitching out a little bit. Can you guys hear me?
I don't know why I guess because
still sounds all right. So Want to remind you guys that this shirt is still available. The classic Lunar Module or a homeless tweaker shelter, still available. The link is in this description, only $20. You can walk around, fry people's minds. That's the shot of them saying that we went to the moon. You can ask them, does this look like a Lunar Module or a homeless tweaker shelter? 6 to 7 times out of 10, they're going to say homeless tweaker shelter. The other times, they're going to say Lunar Module. Then you want to say, really? Have you looked at this thing? This thing doesn't look like it could leave the parking lot, let alone go and land on the moon. And then they might even think it's fake. This is the actual photo. This is the photo, their photo. So you can even pull it up on your phone and show them it's from nasa.gov if anyone is skeptical. So, classic shirt right here. Sorry I had to handle a little business. Push my shirts, you know. The Aussie Drama says, Jake, 100%, that t-shirt nails it. El Kiddo says, Jake, dude, Flat Earth Bongos is still pissed at you. I really don't give a shit who's pissed at me anymore. They can all kiss my ass. I've moved on. And you notice since I've moved on, nothing good has happened. And it's all just been like, every time I look up Flat Earth now, it's always some mainstream media taking a shot at it. There's nobody doing anything. And then FE Corps frauding people. And then Mad Mike canceling. Which I got right. Remember my predictions for 2018? I said Mad Mike was going to cancel, that the rocket launch wasn't going to happen. So far, so good. He canceled again. So I was right on that. Man, so far, like, each day is feeling better and better that I got away while I did, you know? And I know that the day's coming soon. That controlled debate between DeBay and DeGrasse is already set up for this month. So when he goes down in flames, and laughably so, you guys aren't going to like when I say, I told you so, but I'm going to say I told you so. That's going to happen. Thomas Scott says, love you, Jake. Love you too, Tommy. And he says, no homo. Well, yeah, of course. Emma says, you're amazing. Thanks, Emma. Yeah, so anyway, I just wanted to go over the moon gravity versus Earth gravity. It seems when it comes to rockets, you need this mega super strong rocket versus a teeny weeny like bullshit, doesn't even matter type propulsion system when you're on the moon. Jumping, however, doesn't seem to reflect that. Whenever they jump on the moon, it looks almost as high or lower as an Earth jump. So I think that, in my opinion, it's just my opinion. I'm Jake the asshole, and this is my opinion. Opinions are like assholes, and this is mine. I think moon gravity debunks landing on the moon, because when you watch those astronauts jump, they should be getting some serious air. And when you combine that with the visible wires that show up, you really have to start making up a ton of excuses to get around all this. And that's why I love the moon landing hoax conspiracy, is because it's so easy to expose. This is just one of many different things, and it's so simple. It's like the easiest conspiracy to expose. And yet there's still so many people out there who don't even know that it's a conspiracy. They just take it for granted. They think, we went to the moon, yeah. And when somebody comes along and starts pointing out all these simple proofs why we didn't, they're really quick to be flipped. I notice it's easier to flip somebody on the moon landing, and you guys have seen me do it in real life, like when I do these videos where I go to the mall and I say Lunar Module or homeless tweaker shelter, or when I went out on the streets and asked people. I can flip people on the moon landing like on the spot almost. Like I can make them at least doubt it quite a bit just by like a few proofs, a few photos, a few videos. Whereas trying to prove some other conspiracies can be a pain in the ass. At least this one is easier to break through. And there's still so many people out there who don't know about it yet. So whenever I do a live chat, I like to hope that there's somebody in the chat who still thinks that we landed on the moon, still believes the official story. And maybe they just haven't had it broken down for them. Maybe they haven't watched enough of the footage to where the best proof of us not going to the moon is just to sit there and watch the NASA footage. Watch what they show you. It's pretty obvious if you break it down, critical thinking. So many things don't add up. So moon gravity proves NASA fakery in that white astronauts cannot jump. Not here on Earth and not even on the moon. They can barely jump with the assistance of a wire. You'd think with the wires they could have pulled them up, but I think it's on the way down. It looks phony. So they didn't want to pull them up too high. They probably tampered with pulling the astronauts. All right, you guys ready? When he jumps, us and the boys are all going to yank on this rope and pull you up. And I bet it just didn't look quite right. So they just hoped that nobody would ask about jumping. But here I am asking about jumping. I know it's been asked before, I'm sure. Stav S says, hey, Jake, is the curtain in the background made of foil? No, it is not made of tin foil. But if it was, man, I'd be well on my way to going to the moon, because you don't need much. I have some cardboard boxes laying around here from my move. I've got a shower curtain. I think I have one curtain rod. So I would need to go get some more curtain rods. I've got some duct tape. And I've got this tarp. Well, tinfoil, if it was tinfoil. Man, I'm almost there. I've almost got the supplies necessary. You know what would be a really funny video would be to build it. I wouldn't want to do it myself, though. I'd want to do it with some friends. I'm thinking maybe I can get Tommy and NorCal Waters and a few friends. Yeah, Thomas Scott News, NorCal Waters, and a few friends. We could get together and build our own homeless tweaker shelter and just see like how close we can get it to the NASA one. Like actually try to make it look similar to the actual NASA one. That's been something that's been talked about but never done. So I'd like to do that. And then, I mean, it wouldn't cost much. I think the supplies would be cheap. So that would be fun. It would be a fun video to make. And I'd also like to maybe get a big banner of some of these different shots. I won't get the phrase Lunar Module or Homeless Tweaker Shelter on a banner, I don't think, because I want to maybe take a banner out to show people like in public. And I'd want something a little less edgy. But on the shirt, it's fun. But I'm thinking for a big banner, I could just even use close-up shots of the Lunar Module and take those around and show people, get some reactions there. So there's some ideas I have, some different things I have in mind. Michael Vacker says, yes, build the Lunar Module. Gaia's Pupil says, I'm down with a homeless shelter. Fuck the sardine housing. Buy land, peeps. Learn bushcraft and don't trust YouTube shills. Bushcraft? I haven't learned any bushcraft. I should probably learn up on some bushcraft. Xanos Earthkeeper says people are way too hostile when faced with flat Earth. Well, yeah, exactly. That's one of the main problems. I notice in person when I used to talk about flat Earth with people, it wasn't so bad. You know, they hadn't heard of it. But now, like the mainstream media has done so many pieces that people have heard about it, and they don't. If you start to talk about it, they're just going to remember the mainstream thing that they saw. and they're just going to laugh at you, or they're going to cut you off, and they're not going to want to talk about it. They're going to say, oh, yeah, I already heard about that. Where, you know, the moon landing is so classic that it's easier to get through. You know what I mean? Chemtrails, it's one of those that people are just like, yeah, well, oh, well, so what? But it's like the moon landing, it's at least it's laughable. It's almost comical to where you have that edge to where you can make fun of it and maybe get them to laugh. That's my strength when I push this shirt or the moon landing conspiracy, is to try to get somebody to laugh, to smile, to think, well, yeah, that is pretty stupid, huh? Or yeah, I can't believe I thought that all these years and never noticed that. You know, get them to think and smile, laugh. It's a powerful thing. Whereas like when you see they're spraying us with chemicals, or they're altering the weather, or the earth is flat, dude, it's God's creation. It can be something where they go, all right, man, well, what are you gonna do? See, I'm gonna go take a shit. See you later. So I noticed that there are certain conspiracies that are a little easier to break on people, and moon landing, the one good thing about it is it's comical, or you can make it comical. So, and then, you know, it's like conspiracies can be like crack. You know, once you get a hit of one conspiracy, like for me, 9/11 led to all this other conspiracies and making videos and all that. So once somebody gets a hit of their first conspiracy, like, what? I was wrong about something and didn't know this my whole life. What the fuck? Maybe, you know, you can change someone forever. So, yeah, man, I would recommend you get the shirt and you crack them over the head with the humor side of the moon landing before you even attempt to move on to the shape of the earth, or you even attempt to move on to the other more twisted conspiracies out there. Chase Tassin says, hey, can you please explain the moon phases? I can't, because I've never been to the moon and I don't really know what the moon is. For all I know, we can see it might be a different moon each time we see it. Like in each phase is a different moon, for all I know. You know what I mean? I know what the globe explanation is for the moon's phases. And a lot of time globe believers get it wrong, and they think the curve on the moon is because of the earth. It's like, well, no, that's the moon's phases. So a lot of times globe believers don't even know that the supposed curve of the earth being on the moon is only during a lunar eclipse. So a lot of times they get that wrong, and they think moon's phases is because of the earth being on the moon, and that's definitely wrong. They say that's the relation of the sun due to the position of the moon. So it's just like a positioning deal. But I don't think that doesn't make sense to me, because the moon should be changing throughout the day. When you see the sun go across the sky and the moon is out there with the sun at the same time, and it's a half moon the entire day, while the moon's out there with the sun for most of the day, and it's just a half moon staring right at the sun. That doesn't make any sense to me. If the sun's moving around, you know, with the moon, and they're both two sphere objects, let's say, or if the moon is a sphere, we should be seeing that phase change throughout the day. At least that would make sense to me. And since it doesn't change throughout the day, it's like you don't see it change until the next day. There's a little more, little less, then it goes away. So I don't know what the hell the moon is. And whenever somebody acts like they do know what the moon is, they're just fucking guessing. So I am at least humble enough to admit, like, I don't know what the moon is. It appears to me that the moon emits its own light. So each phase is the moon lighting itself up, you know, partially, halfway. I don't know. That's just something that the moon does, and I don't have an explanation for it myself. So there are people out there that try to explain everything, even though they've never been to the fucking moon. They'll be like, the moon is a projection, and it's resetting itself, and it's doing this and that, and they don't know. They're just guessing. So I'll just straight tell you, like, I don't know, man. But I don't think that the moon is a spherical solid object at all. I definitely don't. I can't prove that it's not, but I can see the blue sky through the moon, and we're always stuck seeing that same side. I don't think it's a spherical object. Conscious Room says the moon is nature's light. Duh. Yeah, man. Duh. Somebody said the moon and stars are our calendar. Yeah, you know, if we grew up like looking at the stars every night and reading them and being more familiar with them, you know, it would mean something different to us. You know, I think they can chemtrail out the sky, keep us distracted with TV, and we're indoors all the time, to where we have a disconnect with how the luminaries really work. You know, and I'm sure people, you know, the ancient tribes, ancient cultures had a much better understanding of the position and time of day, time of night to the luminaries than we do. All right, and then there's also the moon craters. I put out a video a while back that I would recommend a lot of you guys go back and watch, called Moon Craters Debunked. That's where I shot my BB gun into the ground to demonstrate that when you shoot your gun straight up and down, you can make round craters. But then when you take angles and you shoot at the ground, it makes dig marks and trenches. And if you notice on the moon, it's only round craters. And if meteors were coming in slanted, you know, at angles, then it should be creating trenches, dig marks, scar marks, what have you, more often than straight on impacts. And so if we're always looking at the same side of the moon, how did these meteors get between the Earth and the moon and make perfectly circular craters without making, you know, without coming in at angles and making dig marks and trench marks? So, man, that's a good video. In fact, shit, with my screen sharing ability, we could actually go back and watch that, because I haven't watched that one in a while. So maybe we'll do that. Bear with me. All right. Moon craters debunked. There it is. Ah, yes.
Mainstream science will have you believe that the craters on the moon are due to impacts from meteors, comets, and asteroids.
Look at this. Get your flat Earth
They will
maps.
have you believe these thousands and
Yep.
thousands
Always an
of
ad for the
circular
fucking
craters which cover the moon's surface are all due to impacts. Now, anyone who wants to make sure that this information is correct can Google craters on the moon, and they will tell you straight away lunar craters are impact craters on the Earth's moon. The moon's surface has many craters, almost all of which were formed by impacts. So when I zoom in on the moon and I take a close look, I can see all these circular craters, which they say are from impacts. My question is, if all these space rocks are flying in at different angles, not just 90-degree angles, where are the impact marks which create digs and canyons and trails? Shouldn't there be meteors and comets and asteroids coming in at various angles, all sorts of various angles, which should be hitting from the side and creating canyons, dig marks, scrapes, gouges? Are we to believe all of these meteor impacts are coming in at 90-degree angles? We should be seeing marks like this on the moon. Like I said, dig marks or scratches, scrapes, if you will, caused by meteors coming in at an angle. I can find images produced by Hollywood which demonstrate this, where a meteor comes in at an angle and makes a big giant gouge, right? And digs deeper and deeper into the earth as it hits. Well, in this case, we should be seeing these marks on the moon, except we don't. And if you even type in meteor impact marks, all they show you is a bunch of images of meteor crater in Arizona and a bunch of circular impact marks. I can't even find the right verbiage. I put meteor impact trails, and then they show me trails left behind a meteor in the sky. So I can't find any actual images to display this in real life. All I could find were these Hollywood images of meteors coming in at an angle and making these gouges, scrapes, trails, whatever you want to call them. The only images I could find of this were CGI images created on a computer. Now, I found this highly puzzling that I couldn't find any real-life examples of this that weren't created on a computer. So then when I look at the moon and I'm asking myself, where are these impact trails, impact ditches, if you will? They simply don't exist. So we have to then at this point, being that science, mainstream science, is telling us that all these impact craters are coming from space rocks slamming into the moon, we have to then ask ourselves, is it theoretically even possible for the moon to be getting hit by space rocks, all of which are entering at a 90-degree angle, to make these circular craters? Because it seems to me, or any logical thinking person, that these meteors, comets, and asteroids are going to be coming in at all sorts of angles, various angles. If the moon is orbiting the Earth, and the Earth is orbiting the sun, and the sun is shooting through space, and all of these unfathomable speeds that they say we're going, that means the moon should be getting hit by space rocks from every angle imaginable, and for it to make only circular craters would be a physical impossibility. So at this point, I will now demonstrate through a actual physical experiment that you cannot physically have nothing but circular craters on the moon if they are all due to impacts. We should be seeing gouges, scrapes, ditches, canyons that are being dug out by sideways, angular, incoming impacts. All right. So today I am out in the country so I can perform an experiment and not disturb anybody at the same time. Today what I want to demonstrate is the different type of marks that a high velocity object making an impact will create. So for instance, if space rocks are said to be smacking into the moon and making those round craters, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take my air rifle and I'm going to shoot BBs into the earth, the ground right here, and I'm going to shoot the ground at various angles. I'm going to shoot the ground at 90-degree angles, and then I'm going to shoot the ground at all different varying angles so that we can compare and contrast the different impact marks that the BB makes into the ground. And that's going to be my experiment, is just get different types of impact marks from different angles so that I can demonstrate if objects were hitting the moon, all day long from space, we should see varying different marks and not just circular impacts, which basically seems like that's all there is on the moon is circular impacts. And there should be different sorts of impacts, like ones that make trails and dig marks. So that's what I'm going to do today, is attempt to make trails and dig marks with my BB gun to demonstrate that if objects are hitting a spot at various different angles, we should see various different sorts of impacts. So I'm just going to use my regular old air rifle. Don't be alarmed. I know it looks like it has a clip, like it might be an AK. This actually holds CO2. It's not a clip. I don't have any CO2, so I'm going to do regular old school pump action. But yeah, you could put CO2 cartridges inside this guy right here, and then you don't even have to pump your BB gun. You can just load it up and fire over and over, which is cool. I used to do that when I was a teenager. I have not shot this gun in freaking years and years and years. Anyway, so yeah, I've got a spot that I actually flattened out, and I'm going to shoot that spot and make some different sorts of impacts. So first thing I'm going to do, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. First thing I'm going to do is make some 90-degree angles straight up and down impacts.
Fucking map ads.
All right, I've done 2. I'm going to do a third one, and then we're going to look at these impacts that I'm making with straight up and down, trying not to get any angle on it at all, like a 90-degree angle impact. All right. Now let's see what we ended up with. So here's the area that I flattened out. And as you can see, I shot 3 times. One of them made this circular impact crater. And you can even see the BB then popped out. And then the other 2, as you can see, the BBs are still stuck in there, and there's round holes. They made round holes because I shot it straight in at a 90-degree angle. Now, I'm going to shoot the rest of this area. As you can see, there's no other marks. I try to get it nice and flat and take away all the blemishes so we can see the next marks I'm going to make. I'm going to shoot now at different angles, and we're going to see the different types of impacts it makes. So on the first shot, it took a chunk out and made a round crater like you would see on the moon. And then you see these other 2 where the BB just went straight in. So you can see I was at a 90-degree angle, and it makes these holes. So now I'm going to shoot it the ground at various different angles so we can see what type of marks that those leave. I just got this new handy-dandy tripod to shoot this video with. All right. Now I'm going to shoot the different angles. I can't tell you what angle because I'm just going to make them up. But if objects are hitting the moon for millions and billions of years, they should be hitting the moon at different angles, right? Not just 90-degree angles. So now I'm going to shoot different angles into this spot. here's the spot where I shot multiple different times at different angles. See the difference that this leaves, these impacts that I made when I'm shooting at an angle versus these ones where the BB is still stuck straight in the ground at a 90-degree angle. Those are circular holes. And then this one made a circular crater right here, like you might see. But at different angles, when I take different angles, you see this made like a dig mark, a little trail. This one took a big gouge out. That one is going inward at an angle. So this is my perfect illustration. If there's these dig marks that I can make with my BB gun at different angles, where are the dig marks on the moon? It should be covered in dig marks and trenches that are made from space rocks coming in at angles. But you don't see any of those. You see them all circular craters. You don't see dig marks on the moon. I mean, theoretically, there should be more dig marks than there are 90-degree angles. How in the hell are we getting perfect 90-degree impacts on the moon to make those nice round craters when we should be getting anything but a round crater? All right, I've got one more demonstration. I have an old apple that was getting kind of soft in my fridge, so I figured this was a good round object, well, roundish object to shoot. And I'm going to shoot it, same deal, I'm going to shoot it at a 90-degree angle with my BB gun, and then I'm going to take a couple different angles and shoot it so we can compare the impact marks on something round, like this. First, I'm going to do a 90-degree angle shot on it. 3, 4, 5. It's like I don't want to do too many pumps and blow big chunks out of it, so I'll try 5 pumps. All right. You can barely even tell. The hole, it made such a tiny hole because of that 90-degree angle. Now I'm going to shoot it at an angle. Turn it to a different spot. So, straight hole, that's from my 90-degree shot, straight over the top. And then, this one right here, definitely not a regular round hole. Because it came in at an angle, kind of ripped into it, made more of a gouge, right? And just like the exit, it's not just a regular round hole, because it's at an angle. Shoot it at a couple more angles. I was thinking if a rock was to hit just the very edge of the moon, not only would it make a dig mark, it could theoretically just take a nice chunk out of it, right? If it was to hit right on the edge of the moon at the right angle, right? If you were to just get that right angle on the moon. Oh, perfect. Exactly what I was looking for. Right? Look at that. See what I did there with a BB? High velocity impact. Made a nice gouge. Could you imagine that being like a canyon? If this is the moon and something came in at that angle, high velocity, this should leave a canyon. Huge dig mark, right? Look at that. That's what I'm trying to get to you people. They want you to believe everything on the moon came from a round, straight through, where's my hole? Yeah. Round, regular, straight impact. That's how all those craters on the moon were made, by a 90-degree impact. Where are these ones? There should be more of these. Come on, 90-degree, straight up and down collisions, more common than angled collisions, which should cause digs, trails, trench marks, canyons. I believe I've sufficiently debunked the notion that space rocks are making all those craters on the moon. I believe anyone can demonstrate through the scientific method, which I've just...
All right, so let me go back for a minute. to the moon just to look at the craters. Come on.
Are coming from space rocks slamming it.
So these craters, like I say, they're all round, and we don't see the dig marks. So that was what I proved in that experiment. And of course, the NASA answer to this is that the rocks come in so fast and with so much force that it always makes a round crater. Yeah, a round crater with a flat center. Yeah, okay. That makes a whole lot of sense. It should be holes, big, huge holes. And, it just doesn't make any sense. To me, these look more like leftover boil marks. You know what I mean? I don't know how else to describe it, but besides like when like mud boils and then dries up or something. You know what I mean? So I don't know what causes these circular craters, but I'm about 99% sure it doesn't come from impacts. And here's another proof that I didn't include in that video, but I since then have thought of that. Shit, what was I gonna say? My mind just went blank. Oh yeah, see all these craters. Shouldn't there be new ones? Like if it's 2018 now, shouldn't there be like, oh yeah, I remember when this one over here showed up. It wasn't there in 1978, but in 1979 on January 8th, this one right here showed up. Yeah, if you were watching at that moment, you could have seen the meteor right out and go boom and hit it and so there's never any new big, huge craters that we've ever seen get made, like, since anyone we know has been alive. Like, there's no old people like, back in 1959, there wasn't all these craters over here, but now in 2018, there's all these craters. So that's my thing, is how come we haven't seen any new craters, show up or anything since we've been looking at it, if they're so freaking common? So, and then how do the rocks get between the Earth and the moon to hit it just perfectly? So to me, that rules out impacts. So I don't think anything is impacting the moon. And we're back. So that was a trip down memory lane. I haven't watched that video in a while, but somebody reminded me of it by asking about the moon. I got to ranting, went back and showed you guys. So just more evidence that we don't know what the moon really is, man. We don't know what it is or how it really works. And you can just take, simple experiments like that and prove that it's not from impact. So they want you to believe a bunch of meteors, like, over time just totally covered that thing with craters. But once you rule that out, then it's like, well, then what the hell happened to it? It kind of has this like spongy look. So I don't know, man. It's tough to say what the hell the moon is. Chris P says, what up, Jake? What up, Chris? Don Strack says, the science backs how it was done. I guess I didn't catch the other part of what he said, but usually science doesn't back. Mainstream science doesn't back a lot of what they say. They just say a lot of shit. Jason Germinger says the nukes are the cell phone towers. They can flip to max power and wipe everyone out. Yeah, I'm kind of scared about that too, about all the cell towers going up, and that one day they could flip them to full blast and just microwave everyone within a certain amount of radius of one of those towers. And I don't care if you live way out in the boonies, way out in the country. Here's a cell tower somewhere near you. or there's a tree or a cell tower disguised as a tree near you. So they're out there and they're next to every major road. So even if you lived way the fuck out there off the grid, if you ever went, and got on the roads or tried to go into any major city to get supplies or anything, you would come into the radius of one of these microphone cell towers. So yeah, they could really easily flip on all the microwave cell towers in a certain region, microwave a bunch of people, and then carpet bomb that region, and then say, we got bombed, or nuked by North Korea or Russia or whoever. So yeah, that's definitely the next level type false flag they could pull. That's something that would make 9/11 look like kiddie stuff. Is if they pulled a massive bloodshed false flag event like flipping on all those towers at full blast. We were talking on cell phones long before all those towers showed up. And I can only imagine what 5G is going to start doing to us. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I wonder if I'm getting attacked, through my brain waves or whatever, if they can send microwaves and attack what you're thinking, know what you're thinking. I mean, if you can think it, maybe they can do it. So they might be able to not only manipulate how you think, they might be able to know what you're thinking and how you're thinking. And it can be scary. I mean, a lot of people are starting to say that they think that they're being attacked by these towers or by waves, by frequencies. You might have heard people say that, or maybe you even think that's happening to you. And it's one of those where you sit there and go, all right, am I just being paranoid, or is something happening to me? See, look, somebody says, Jake the asshole, you're not you're not paranoid. Those assholes are sci-fi supervillains. Okay, I thought he was going to call me paranoid. But because it makes you wonder, like, am I just having a bad day and feeling weird, or are these frequencies that are hitting me? Because people go through, bad times, they have depression, but it seems like I'll be fine, and then out of nowhere, something will hit me, and like I'll just be upset, angry, demotivated. I just remember things from the past that I did wrong or whatever, that I don't know. I just wonder, is that just me dwelling on shit, or is that something that can be flipped? Is that like a switch somebody can flip? Like, let's hit Jake with the depression frequency. And it's like, yeah, why am I the way I am? I don't know if that's like a real thing that they can do, or if that's just paranoia. But I've heard that they can manipulate, how you feel through frequencies, and I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, if that was a weapon to be had, wouldn't you want it? If you could get your enemies to fucking hate themselves and be demotivated, wouldn't you want that weapon? And they couldn't figure out that it was you doing it? That's a pretty crazy weapon. Hi, Beck. How's it going? So I always wonder, where do these technologies come from? Do we humans invent them, or are there superior races that trade war technology to us? And then again, that's even more insane to think of, because there's technologies that don't make any sense, like fiber optics and different things that, like, when you really sit and think of, like, where did this technology come from? You know what I mean? And there's the technology that the military tells us about, and then there's the technology they don't tell us about. And so we're always in the dark on what the military really has. And then does the military just invent all that stuff, or did they get it from somewhere else? Did they get it from some other higher beings or something? I don't want to say aliens, but fucking aliens from some other place. I don't know. But it seems to me, when you look at it, how much gold has left this country and left the world, it seems like there's been a whole lot of mining of gold and resources. It makes me wonder if something is being done with this gold, if it's being traded to someone or something, or given to someone or something. in exchange for war technology, which I don't know if you guys have looked into, but there's been a lot of mining that's went down over the years, and gold has always been one of those things that people have sought after. And we used to have our money here in the United States backed by gold, and then when they went away from gold, at some point, I think the gold just started to disappear, and I don't know how much gold we really have on reserve. I think it gets given away or traded to someone or something in exchange for all this crazy technology. And that's just pure speculation. I don't have any way to prove it. All I know is there's a whole lot of mining that's been going on and still probably going on. And gold has always been one of those things we lust after. And who knows exactly what for. I mean, I remember reading stuff before I ever got into flat earth and a lot of these conspiracies. I remember reading that like the aliens want our gold because they turn it into monatomic gold and they ingest it and they can stay alive forever. And I remember reading stuff about aliens or higher beings ingesting gold. So it makes me wonder if there's any sort of truth to those type of stories that like gold is given or traded to higher beings, or if you can use gold in a certain way to stay alive longer or forever or have special powers by utilizing it. I don't know. I don't know. Ben Vinar says the gold's up there in their giant veins, I'm telling you. Okay. John Walter says the theory was the aliens needed gold to build a Dyson sphere to harvest energy. Well, there's a lot of different theories. All I'm saying was I remember like that a lot of stuff revolved around like humans being created to mine gold and resources for the higher powers. And so I wonder if there's any sort of truth to that, or if gold can be, utilized by higher beings in ways we can't understand. Ralph Lorino says, Jake, I would like to hear your thoughts on why the moon landing was hoaxed so poorly. Why would they make it so obvious? Laziness or a type of whistle? So basically people wonder why it looks so stupid and why they would, it would be so obvious. Why didn't they do a better job? Well, it was done in the 60s. And back in the 60s, they were kind of doing the best they could. Not everybody was sitting around watching that live. So they get to watch a grainy replay and like black and white. You know what I mean? And a lot of people are sheep, they aren't that skeptical. They think when you're watching a movie that that's fake. But then when you turn the movie off and you're watching the news, that's real. And people are still like that today. If I say, look, that's CGI, people go, no, it can't be. It can't be CGI. It's like, but then if you're watching a movie and you say that's CGI, they're like, oh, yeah, well, yeah, it's a movie. So it's that thing about people just when they're watching the news, they don't think that they're being tricked. They don't think about anything movie wise at all. Like they don't think of Hollywood trickery. They don't think of camera tricks. They don't think about being tricked because they think they're watching something real. And so I think if you're just showing a black and white screen and you're doing the best you can with the Hollywood technology to fake people back then, I think you could do a good job. I mean, it faking people out. And there were a lot of people who didn't believe it, of course. But over time, those people just shut up, and more people are born just thinking we went to the moon because their parents believed it and they learn it in school. So a lot of people grow up never going back and looking into the moon landing. So it's just one of those things like 9/11 seems pretty obvious when you look at it, that buildings can't just like fall down into their own footprint. So a lot of these conspiracies are obvious when you go back and look and you say, well, why didn't they do it better? Why were they lazy? It's because they didn't need to be. because people are fucking sheep. You know what I mean? If they think they're watching a movie, they'll accept that it's Hollywood trickery. But then if they think they're watching something real, it doesn't even cross their mind. Like, you know how many people like got on my ass about saying that I think that North Korea, the shots of them like with all their army and their missiles and flags in the background, I think it's a ton of CGI layering. People are like, you crazy conspiracy theorists think everything is CGI. It's like, have you watched a Hollywood movie these days? Go watch any like war scene where they recreate old wars with CGI. Very little is real anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, the actors standing in front of maybe a couple real props, but then the rest, they can do wonders with CGI. I mean, they can break down for you on some of these YouTube specials all the different amazing things they can do with CGI now, to where I'm amazed that when you say that doesn't look quite right, it looks like CGI, people still go, no, it doesn't. You conspiracy theorists think that everything is CGI. Well, fuck, CGI looks pretty good nowadays. It's getting harder and harder to spot it in the Hollywood movies. You know what I mean? They can show old footage like Pearl Harbor or whatever, of all these planes flying around and shooting each other down. You know what I mean? Or Independence Day, you know, the alien spaceships in our military space fighter jets flying around and shit. It looks pretty damn real. So the minute you use that technology on the news and somebody like me says, that looks fake, then you have all the fucking retarded morons going, no, not everything is CGI. No. It's like, how would you know? Rusty, stop it. So I'd say the day that I watched Terminator 2 in the movie theater and I saw the dude's arm turn into a liquid metal knife and chop through somebody, and he like broke into a helicopter and liquid metal his way into the helicopter and then turned back into a person. I remember as a kid being blown away, like, holy shit. Like, that was the day that the computers got so sophisticated that they didn't need to like do anything with movie props anymore. They could just do it with computers. And I remember specifically Terminator 2 and the liquid metal dude, like that was the turning point for me, like going, holy crap, this looks so real. I can't believe they can do this. To where now in 2018, you know how easy it is to put some layering on the screen